Hello and welcome to Cardboard History. I'm David, and today I want to share with you my Strongsville experience, including some cards that I've picked up, and also share with you a new collection project that I am starting on. Not quite sure what it's going to look like yet, but I picked up a couple cards at Strongsville as well that fit into that, so I want to share those as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. This was my fourth year going to Strongsville, so I've experienced it at the hotel where it used to be, 2 years in the ice rink, and now at the field house. I think this was probably my favorite experience of all of those so far. There was plenty to see, and even having both sides, I think, for many people unsure of how to feel about the other side, found it to be a great resource, a great place to go and maybe find some deals or to have some dealers over there that may not have come to the Strongsville show, but yet has some great vintage inventory. I know I picked some things up over there that I will share with you here shortly. This year was just another great opportunity to meet some new people, see some old friends, and reconnect. So overall, a fantastic show. Glad I went. Glad I had the chance to interact with so many people that I haven't seen since the National, or really some since a year and a half or 2 years ago. So that was probably the best part, was just getting to see some people interact. You can buy cards online, but nothing quite like hanging out and talking cards with a group of friends in person. Well, let's get into the cards that I picked up, and I'll go through these kind of where they fit into different collections and projects that I'm working on. So I'll turn the camera around here. And first of all, the more modern side afforded me the opportunity to dig through some dollar boxes and pick up some Cubs cards for my gold collection that I'm putting together. I'm doing this in a binder set, so all of the gold numbered to whatever year. So this is the 2017 Jake Arrieta, right after they won the World Series. 2013 Nico Horner, 13 Cody Bellinger, and then the 15 John Lester right after they signed him, who would go on to be a key member of that World Series team. So those will get put into a binder. The next thing that I went in with a goal of was picking up some new cards, examples from different sets that I didn't have. And the first one I found at Trade Night. I bought this off of Jim Palmer, and just a beautiful Ernie Banks card, 1970 Kellogg's. All the stats on the back from all of those years with the Chicago Cubs, Mr. Cub himself, Ernie Banks. Next up is the 1962, and this card I already had, but for those of you that know, there are some cards in the 62 set that have a green tint variation where the blue was printed a little bit more green, and it was the first time I've ever seen a dealer that specifically had a set of these and called them out as the green tint. So I wanted to pick one up just to be able to show the two different variations. This is the first green tint that I have, but you can really, when you hold it up next to it, you can really tell the difference in color. So that's kind of just an interesting early variation in tops. Next up is the 1955 doubleheader. This one is Steve Bilko. My favorite thing about these cards, and maybe someday I'll put this together, is that they do all line up and the background goes from card to card. So if you get certain cards in order, you can lay them side by side and you'll have a little bit of a panoramic view of the background. So Bilko, first baseman for the Cubs in 55 on the front, and then on the back, Bob Milliken with the Dodgers. Next up is this not a Bond bred square corners. I bought this off of Jake, Legends Never Die, and we talked it back and forth a little bit. Couldn't quite remember. If anybody knows exactly what these are from, I know it's the same images as the Bond bred, but with the square corners, might be Arco or something similar, blank back. So if anybody has any more information or can tell me exactly what set this is from, I'd appreciate it. But whatever it's from, it's the first one I have in my collection of Cubs. And then the last
new type card is a 1941 R330 double play. This is Larry French and Vance Page. So this is the first one of this set in my collection as well. So for me, that was 4 new type cards and 1 new variation, which was great and about halfway towards my goal of kind of expanding the breadth of my collection there. Next up was the goal of expanding my T206 collection, and I managed to pick up 7 more. So McIntyre, Killian, Stone, which is the roughest of the bunch, Ferris, Stovall, Arndt, and Dijert. All commons, but the significant part about this is that these 7 take me over 100 in the monster. So officially, well, not quite, but very close to 1/5 of the way there. I'll turn the camera back around, talk a little bit about my strategy going in before I show the rest of the cards. I had 3 really big cards that were going to take up most of my budget if I found them, but I wasn't anticipating finding them in a low enough grade that I'd be able to afford it, yet good enough condition that I'd be happy with owning it. So I went in with the mindset, if I find one of those cards, great, I would be ecstatic. If not, then I would take a portion of my budget and try to pick up some things that filled some holes in my collection, but keep most of my budget reserved so that way I can kind of keep building it up and either look towards the national or look towards some of these big auctions that are happening right now and ending this coming weekend, to see if there's something that can fit kind of that big card that I didn't really pick up at Strongsville. But what I did get was some more cards from my Ken Burns collection. So if you've been watching my channel over the years, I know I haven't posted much lately, but one of the big projects I've been working on is trying to pick up a card of every person that's mentioned in the Ken Burns documentary, if they have a card, and if they're also mentioned in the accompanying book, because looking at the book and the movie together, if they're in both, that whittles it down from about 900 subjects down to 460. So I'm starting with just people that appear in both the book and in the documentary series. But one cool thing that I did pick up at trade night from Drew was this DVD set of the Ken Burns documentary. So I own the digital copy of this on Amazon Prime, but now it's nice to have a DVD copy, and I figured since I'm doing the Ken Burns collection, it would be good to have the DVD set to go along with that. So that was really cool. Thank you, Drew, for bringing that with you. Kind of an unusual item, but definitely something that fit right in with my collection and something that I'll probably end up watching at some point. We've got the DVD player out for our kids, and they will watch movies every once in a while, so maybe I'll introduce them to that. But now to look at some of the cards that I've picked up for that Ken Burns collection, I'll turn the camera back around. So really had a little bit of a early 1920s Yankees theme with these first 3 cards. The first one is Al Smith. Now he's in this because he played a significant role in the history of the Yankees. He was a governor of New York, but he infamously, or notably, threw out the first pitch at the original Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built. So he was the first person to throw out a first pitch at that stadium. So that's why he's in the documentary, because of that somewhat significant moment in the Yankees' history. Next up are a couple of Dutch players, both members of the Yankees. First up is Walter Dutch Reuther. He was a Yankees pitcher in 27 and also a pitcher for the Reds in 2019. So he won 2 World Series, one with the Yankees and one with the Reds. So that 1919 World Series was important because of the Black Sox scandal, and he was on the winning side of that World Series. So this is the E120 American Caramel. And I figured with the nickname of Dutch, it would be good to also have Dutch Musial, or Bob Musial, who was a member of the 1927 Murderers Row with the Yankees. Was glad to find both of these and pick them up. They're both the E120. They came from the same set that was put together and glued in an album. Bought them from the same dealer, I want to say Bill Chappell, if I remember right. That's the end of the Yankees, and then the other portion that I picked up has to do with some Negro League players. First up is Willie Wells. He was a great player in the Negro Leagues and probably most infamously went to play in Mexico, where he said they were treated like royalty in Mexico, unlike in America where they weren't allowed to play in the major leagues. So this is from the Laughlin set, 1974. It's been about 2 years now since the Major League Baseball incorporated Negro League stats in with the Major League stats. And when that happened, the cards in this set shot through the roof, and they have not come back down. Not back to where they were before that. Maybe they've come down a little bit from the peak. But that's most of the Negro League stars that are mentioned in the Ken Burns documentary. I originally targeted in the set, but I'm now thinking about changing that because for a card like the Josh Gibson in this set, it goes for about $2,000. It's not a playing days card of Josh Gibson. It's well after he was playing. It's not a rookie card. It's not his first card. And so to me, I am having a hard time justifying paying that much for a post-playing days non-rookie card of a legend, but all those other qualifications made me want to go a different route. And this is the route that I went. So the Laughlin set was a 1974 set. Then in 1976, DNS Enterprises, which John Douglas and James Bell, put out this Cool Papa Comments set. And it centers around Cool Papa Bell, Hall of Famer, and highlights different points in his career. And a dealer at the Strongsville show had this entire set, and I was able to work out a really good deal to get the whole set. It has some really cool things like this Lou Brock setting the stolen base record, where it was presented with the base by Cool Papa Bell. Cool Papa Bell was known most of all for his amazing base speed on the base path. Remarked that he was so fast that he could turn off a light switch and be in bed under the covers before the room was dark. So you have some pictures of different points in his career, whether that was managing or playing. But the interesting card for me that really sold me on the set was this. A picture of Cool Papa Bell with Josh Gibson. This picture is from when the Negro League players went down to Santo Domingo in 36, I believe it was, 37. So Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige, Cool Papa Bell, all went down to play for the dictator of the Dominican Republic, Trujillo. And he had hired the best team money could buy because he was extremely competitive and wanted to win. And really, they were forced to win under threat of death. If you ever have a chance to listen to the history of that event, it's really fascinating just to think about how they got themselves into that situation and then left and never went back to the Dominican Republic. But this is actually a picture with Josh Gibson outside the barracks. So if you're looking at Josh Gibson cards, He has some really early postcards, but then his rookie card is the 1950 Toleteros. If you want to see an example of that, you can go check out Southern Collector's channel. He has a incredible example of that. Then after that, Josh Gibson has some Mexican League cards in 63, which are pretty scarce. I've never seen. And then the 74 Laughlin, and then this is the next card, the DNS Enterprises card with Cool Papa Bell. And it's really similar for Cool Papa Bell as well. He doesn't have a Toleteros, but he does have some Mexican League cards in 63, the Laughlin in 74, a Sheraton card in 75, and then this set in 76. So as far as Negro League players go, this is somewhat early on for cards that show their image. So tells a little bit of the story back here. And yeah, if you want to read that, you can pause it. And then here are the last couple of cards that are from that set. So I just thought these were really cool and a way to have examples of these players, very significant players in Negro League history, in my collection without having to pay the inflated prices of the Laughlin set. So those are the majority of my pickups, but before I show the last ones, I want to share about a project that I'm starting on, and it's really just starting to take shape. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm trying to piece some things together, and it's really going to center around important theologians, pastors, or Christian figures throughout history. So it's going to be a non-sport set that I'm putting together, but it was inspired by a baseball card. And I'll share that card too when I turn the camera back around. But the reason for me wanting to pursue this is because outside of baseball and sports and baseball cards, and really my bigger passion than those things is my faith. For those of you that know me, you know I've spent the last 6 years of my life working on getting my PhD in biblical theology. I've been very involved in my church and really care about the truth of the Word of God and the story behind those who have faithfully testified to the witness of Christ in the life that he brings. So I wanted to kind of find a way that could incorporate into what I collect in the hobby, and as a way to, as I like telling the history of baseball through cards, also be able to tell a little bit of the history of the Christian faith through cards as well. So I'll turn the camera around and share some of the cards that I have picked up so far, and I'm still putting that checklist together of what all will be in there, but it's really taking me down some interesting research routes, and if you have any ideas or things that you think would be a great fit, let me know. I would love to hear any input. So the first card, and I've showed this before on my channel, is the N284 Buckner Gold Coin Billy Sunday. Billy Sunday was a baseball player, but he is more well known for his life as a preacher. He was a famous evangelist in the early 20th century and would draw crowds of thousands upon thousands to his tabernacle meetings. So if you want to know more, there's plenty out there to read. I'm hoping to make a video here in the next couple of months to share more of his story. But picking up this card was important to me because it bridged my love of baseball and Christianity. And he is a pivotal figure in Christianity. And he also happened to play baseball for the Chicago Cubs, or the White Stockings, as they were known back in the 1800s. So from this, I came across a pair of 1901 Ogdens of John Calvin and Martin Luther, who were both significant figures in the Reformation. Martin Luther in Germany and Calvin in Switzerland. And so these are some of their earliest cards, and thought they have a very special place in the history of Christianity, especially the Protestant faith. Then I picked up two cards this weekend at the show. This was one that I found over on the more modern side, but this is David Livingston. He was a missionary in Africa and might be more widely known as an explorer because he really paved the way for discovering most of what Europeans knew about Africa, especially Southern Africa. So this is from the 1910 T118 World's Greatest Explorers set. That's David Livingston. And then the other card I picked up at trade night from none other than Mookie Chilson. And this is Dr. Billy Graham. This is, if you want to call it a rookie card, to me rookie is more of a sports term, but it's his first card. It's the 1962 Lions made. So he is certainly one that had a huge impact on Christianity and the Christian faith, especially in America in the 20th century. Then something else that came up, and this came in the mail today, so this is not a Strongsville pickup, but it's an online purchase. As I went down the rabbit hole of looking for pastors, theologians, and Christian figures, I started really doing some deep digging into European sets because they tend to cover more of that period of history. And I came across this set. And I am probably not going to extend my collection into Bible scenes. But these were just so cool that I had, and it wasn't that expensive to pick up a set of these. But these are from Liebig, which is a meat extract company. Or think of it like bullion. This specific series is from 1903, and it's the 7th series of Bible scenes that they put out. So this here is an image of Absalom being caught in the tree, the death of Absalom. It shows there in the bottom. And I just thought these were really beautiful illustrations and well done. There's a little bit of a gold border on the outline, kind of like the T205's gold border. This is Ruth and Boaz, Moses being placed in the river. This is Jeremiah predicting the captivity of Babylon. Because these are European, so they come in German, there's French, Spanish, and Italian versions of these. So depending on the series, they're in certain languages and not in others. This is Moses presenting Joshua before the people to be their new leader. And then finally, this is Isaac blessing Jacob, while Esau is in the background there. So I just thought these were some really cool pictures, and I might put the rest of these together if I come across them, just because the artwork is, to me, really interesting, and it tells a little bit more about the story on the back, and more about meat extract, if you're interested in that, and can read Swiss, French, Spanish, German, one of those. So if you're still watching, thanks for hanging out with me and sharing in my pickups. It was just a great chance to connect with some people. I'm hoping to start being a little bit more active in my channel. I know I've been, one video about every 3 months lately. Life's been crazy, but I think things are starting to slow down. So fingers crossed, I'll be able to start getting a little bit more evolved again with making videos and sharing some more of my collection and talking more with all of you. So thank you for watching. This has been Cardboard History.